Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today we'll be talking about those Oscar nominations and just how it continues to show how out of touch Hollywood elites are from the regular, everyday people as they continue to promote films that people have never even heard of or ever even seen, and many of which promote different political agendas and also share one thing in common with each other, and that is that almost every single one of them has lost money at the box office, at least based on the numbers that we have available, as several of the films nominated this year are available on streaming platforms, which makes it that much more difficult to really see exactly how successful financially any of those films can honestly really claim to be. And so we'll compare this to the list that was brought up by the 4th annual Wednesday Raven Award nominations that were announced yesterday. That's our boycott of the Oscars that we have every single year, and it's one that's nominated by you, the people of Asgard. And so we'll show a comparison of the two lists, and you tell me in the comment section what you think the better list actually is. So before going into these numbers and the two lists respectfully, I know you're excited, River. Please make sure you smash that like button, line up that fire button if you're watching over on Odyssey, and also make sure that you are subscribed to the channel with that bell notification turned on. That way you know every time a new video or live stream goes live on the channel. So, as you can see, this is the list of the 10 nominations for Best Picture this year. They had to get all 10 this year. They'd done it in the past where it could be anywhere between 5 and 10, and then it never really ever got to 10. And then apparently they've changed it now where it has to be 10 for this year, obviously trying to get as many films in as they possibly can. And really, none of them really scream, as far as I'm aware, films that are really, that much to get excited about. There are a couple of films, obviously, on the list that I either have seen and have liked, or films that I intend to watch because I've heard very good things about them. But also, it does include films that have clear political motivations to them as well. And so we'll go ahead and dive into it. So first off, Belfast is one that I've actually heard some pretty good things about. This film did not do much at the box office, made $21 million, but its break-even number was around $62.5 million, meaning the film lost around $24.6 million in total. Kenneth Branagh directed this film, and so it is a film that I've heard a lot of good things about. I'm actually looking forward to checking out this film at some point, but not a box office success by any means. The next film was an Apple TV film, Coda. This is a film that I really had never even heard of, and again, I think that's what a lot of these films on the list are really going to fit in that category. But being an Apple TV Plus film, the film's budget was $10 million, $25 million break even. It had a limited theatrical release where it made only $1 million, meaning around a $14 million loss. However, it is important to note that Apple paid $25 million for the rights to this film. And so even though the production budget to make the film, which it was not made by Apple TV Plus, that it was $10 million there, Apple paid $25 million for the rights, and there is no clear indication of how much money they actually got in return for this film. Now, it could very well be Apple TV. They just wanted to have it on their platform to try and bring more eyes, to try and, I guess you could say, build up their library of films and TV shows that are exclusive to their platform to try and make things more enticing. But $25 million seems a little steep as far as buying the rights to a film. Now, again, one could argue, well, it's an Oscar-nominated film now. Yeah, but the Oscars don't mean a whole lot. If you just look to the ratings the last several years, they've been plummeting, and the Oscars have really meant so little, if really nothing at all, the last several years, because so much of it has been dominated by politics and political messaging that it really has just become a complete waste and a complete joke, which is sad because you do have films like, as I mentioned, Belfast, which I've heard good things about, other films like Dune, which I personally liked, on the list, where you would say to yourself, hey, that's nice to see these types of films getting recognition. But at the end of the day, it is fruitless because of just how little care so many of us have really for the Oscars at this point, and how little it means to really say, oh, you're an Oscar-nominated film or you're an Oscar-winning film, because so many things have just been really, again, pushed down people's throats the last several years, and etc. The other film, next film nominated, is Don't Look Up, a heavily heavily political movie. No surprise here whatsoever that it got nominated. This is from Netflix, had a budget of $75 million, limited theatrical release, and based on the numbers that were available, we're looking at around $112 million loss. However, they did release some numbers there, and so the only numbers we have so far about how successful this film has been on Netflix is that it was watched by roughly 70 million people between December 24th and January 22nd. So that could be households, individual persons, but that's pretty much all we have as far as numbers for the film are concerned. So whether or not that makes the film or success, again, in the age of the streaming era that we're in, it's hard. I know, River, it's so hard to really be able to tell, which is why some people say, you know, do you cover streaming numbers or anything like that? And I say no, because streaming numbers mean nothing to me as far as actual financial success. And I think that is one of the more frustrating things about, a lot of the films on this list being in that position of us really not being able to know whether or not these films were really able to capture anyone's attention. For that very reason. Speaking of not capturing attention, we have another film from Japan, which translates as Drive My Car. This was distributed by Janus Films, which actually I have a lot of connections with just because I got into a huge Japanese Kurosawa phase, and most of the films being distributed by, as far as Kurosawa's library are concerned, are actually put out by Janus Films. There's really no data available as far as the budget of this film, as far as any other extra data, except the fact that it made around $3.1 million at the box office. So again, giant question mark here. No one knows really anything about this movie except that it exists and that it is limited in its theatrical run. So again, okay, got nominated for some reason. I guess it's because now there's a trend at the Oscars to try and make sure that at least one foreign language film gets nominated every single year. At least that's what it seems like at this point. The next film, Dune, easily and just by far, I know, it's insane, River. It's insane. By far the most successful film on this list, having made $399 million at the box office, just being around a $7 million loss, but also viewed by around 1.9 million U.S. households over its opening weekend, according to HBO Max. Number also that will be helped by physical media releases. I know that I have bought the Dune 4K Steelbook edition, and I know that the 4K is available and is selling pretty well. So I'm sure that they'll be able to make up that financial loss. I know, River. I know. Okay, calm down. Man, River and Willow are just... They're too hyped this morning. They're too hyped. Not for the Oscars, by the way. No, they're hyped because they're like, get to the Raven Awards already. I know. It's insane. Anyway, the next film nominated is King Richard, which was another financial failure from Warner Brothers. Released on HBO Max, it was viewed by 707,000 U.S. households over its opening weekend. Only made $33 million at the actual box office. Licorice Pizza, another film nominated there. Licorice Pizza by United Artists only made $21 million, $47 million in losses. Nightmare Alley, the next film there, horror film, interestingly enough on the list, $60 million budget, but again, because of that massive budget, only made $26 million at the box office, $74 million in losses there. The Power of the Dog, which really, again, what? Power of the Dog, 12 nominations, so it actually led the pack as far as total nominations are concerned. Cost $35 million. The break-even was $87.5. Limited theatrical release. All we know about the film is that right now it's $52 million in the hole. And over the first 5 days of its online release, it was viewed by roughly 1.3 million households. And then the last film on the list, of course, is one we've talked about on this channel before, and that is West Side Story from 20th Century Studios, which is a massive $112 million loss. And I've even made this point before the nominations came out. River, I know, it's crazy, River. I know, it's crazy. Man, too excited this morning. But I made this point several times, right, where I may even mention that West Side Story, the only reason why it was even still in theaters was because of some attempt to try and keep this in the limelight for when the Oscar nominations came out, because basically Spielberg was able to purchase his way into the Oscars, because just based on the numbers, no one really went to go see this film, as is the case with most of these movies, with the exception of Dune, which by far had easily the most success. In fact, you could take all the films combined together and they don't even match what Dune was able to do by itself. But West Side Story, somehow, some way, got into the nominations. Now you take this list, right? You take this list and you think about the movies that are nominated. So again, there might be some people who have strong opinions about, that some of these films are really good. You need to give these films a chance, etc. Okay, whatever. But I think that there is a better list out there, and that is the list that the Asgardians were able to come up with the Wednesday Raven Awards. So we announced these nominations last night on our live show, and so just for anyone who was not able to be present for it, the nominees for Best Movie of the Year as far as the Wednesday Raven Awards, our 4th annual Wednesday Raven Awards are concerned, are the films Nobody, great film with Bob Odenkirk, Dune, some crossover there with the Oscars, Free Guy, a film that people actually saw in theaters and actually said, hey, this could have been really, really bad, and it ended up being kind of fun. And I would agree. Would I call it one of the best films of the year? I wouldn't personally, but this is what the people wanted. Spider-Man No Way Home, absolutely. A film that definitely should have gotten a lot more attention, especially since Spider-Man No Way Home is the only reason why the box office even exists now. It's the only reason why the box office and the theaters even are still open at this point, because it has been the sole reason why any theaters have gotten really any money over the last several months by itself, making over $1.7 billion worldwide. Last Night in Soho got completely ignored by the Oscars. That's a fantastic Edgar Wright film. If you've not seen it yet, I highly recommend it. Also, the acting in the film. When we talk about good acting, that film has got it in droves with people like Thomas and Mackenzie, who gives a stellar performance in the film. Ghostbusters Afterlife, right? A lot of people who follow the channel were big fans of that film. The French Dispatch, surprisingly, Wes Anderson film that got kind of snubbed by the Oscars. And then now, obviously, I very strongly disagree with this. I am not a Zack Snyder fan. I am not a fan of the Snyderverse whatsoever. But the people nominated this, and it got enough to get onto the list. And so the last film rounding out our Best Movies of 2021 nominees is Zack Snyder's The Justice League, recognizing that it is, in a lot of ways, a different film. Some would say a completely different film. I would say, yeah, okay, it might be marginally better than the original, but still not that great. But again, you look at this list right here, obviously a lot of popular films, right? A lot of films that people actually saw. Also, a lot of really solid films. Again, I would go to bat for films like Nobody, for films like Last Night in Soho, even for films like The French Dispatch, even though I don't think the story is nearly as strong as some other Wes Anderson films. But you compare that to a list like that we had for the Oscars, and again, it just shows you that the Oscars really, truly are out of touch, and so out of touch with the modern day audience, so out of touch with what's going on in the world that, again, it shows why they just completely lack any and all relevancy. You look at this list right here, and you look at this list right here. You tell me which one is better. Let me know your own thoughts in the comment section down below. Again, this was not my list of best films of 2021. This was a list of nominees given by given by the members of the Asgardian community. And I put this out for well over a month, about a month and a half. I let people submit nominations. I took the nominations, added them up, and then chose the ones that were getting the most votes. And this is what came up with. If you want to read the entirety of the nominees from this year's Raven Awards, you can go ahead and check out that list or last night's live stream as well. If you want to see my own personal top 10 list of the year, I have that on my website as well, right? Films like A Quiet Place Part 2 did not get a lot of love. Val did not get a lot of love. Boss Level, Blood Red Sky, Wrath of Man, Tick, Tick, Boom, and even my honorable mention, The Green Knight, did not get a lot of love. It got some attention, but did not get a lot of love, and even in the Wednesday Raven Awards. So anyway, let me know your thoughts about that or anything else I mentioned in the comment section down below. If you like this video, smash that like button, light that fire button if you're watching on Odyssey. You're all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my Patreon, Subscribe Star, and Locals members, starting off with Patreon animation commentator Brandon, let's go Brandon, Brian P., Christopher Bowman, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Fuzz Aldrin, Garrett Searles, Hannibal Grimm, Harold Francis, Hymir Ari Hymason, Inflamed Wood, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toon, Joe Horn, Jonathan Carney, Gomer Kyles 79, Laura, The Modern Major General's Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mondo Spieler, Mr. Peabody, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Priscilla Hall, Rosetta Owen, Stan Andrian, Teresa Martin, or Miss Martin Muses, Theodore Benden, Tina Bojan, and Tina B, the Empress of the Universe. Thank you very much for supporting me over on Patreon. Also to my Subscribe Star peeps, UAB Mad Dog, which is Mr. Mike Jackson, Storm Tracker, The R, Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, Stand For, John B, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss / the new number 2, J-Rod the Beer Guru, and ZK-Man. Thank you all very much for supporting me over on the Subscribe Star platform. And to my 3 local supporters, we got Kara Tharp, UAB Mad Dog, which is once again Mike Jackson, super supporter over there, and Robert Barnes. Thank you very much for supporting me over on the Locals platform. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, please think about signing up on either of those platforms. You can find a link in the description below that will lead you to all of those different pages. It is known as the Willow link, as it is w.lo link, and it will have all of the links to that, to the Discord channel, to all different kinds of places, including places to support me as well. At the Citizen of Asgardian level, you get Citizen of Asgardian level is how it's labeled on Patreon. Still need to fix that, but Citizen of Asgard level, you get a shout out at the end of every live stream and video. If you join at the Army of Asgard level, you also access to a giveaways channel, which is featured on the Discord that I have. I know, River, it is very exciting. It is so exciting, where you get giveaways for things like 4K titles, Steelbook titles, etc. Again, I got some 4K Steelbooks of The Punisher, for instance. I've got 4Ks of tons of other movies, so I'm giving those away all the time. So if that sounds interesting to you, join the Army of Asgard level. Also, at the Keep of the Bifrost level, you get all of that stuff, plus you get access to a once a month and maybe twice a month. We're trying to add an extra podcast in there of me and John the Flick Pick Flickinger, where we talk about movies, and also you get to ask your questions. Any questions that you want to ask, you get to ask with that podcast. And then you have the Chosen of Valhalla level, which gives you access to all of those, and also a once a month podcast where you get to be featured with me on the main channel. We all get to talk together about movies, culture, pop culture, anything really that the Chosen want to talk about, or anything the Chosen want to promote is on the table. So if you like that, join at the Chosen of Valhalla level. Also, during your first month of support, you get a free t-shirt. Any t-shirt that you want from the main store, you get access to, and I do ship internationally anywhere in the world. Anyway, you guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, God bless.